It's Friday, everyone. What do we do on Fridays here at the Hint Hive? That's right, we smash the patriarchy. Hey Hive, it's your resident psychotherapist and feminist life coach, Kelly Hint, aka the queen bee of this hive. And today we are diving into something that honestly feels unavoidable right now: how to navigate the sheer level of hatred in the world without losing yourself in it. Because let's be real for a second. The noise is loud. The anger is everywhere. And sometimes it feels like if you open your phone for 5 minutes, you're hit with outrage, cruelty, misinformation, and people just going for each other's throats. And if you're a woman, especially a woman who speaks up, challenges systems, or dares to take up space, you feel it even more intensely. So today we're talking about how to stay grounded, protect your mental health, and continue to show up as your powerful, authentic self without becoming hardened, numb, reactive, or consumed by the hate. And we're not just talking about survival today, Hive. We're talking about how to stay you in a world that is constantly trying to provoke, distort, and exhaust you. So buckle up and let's dive in. So let's name what we're dealing with, because we cannot navigate something that we refuse to name. So let's call it what it is. We are living in a time where social media algorithms actively amplify outrage because it drives engagement and profit. Political rhetoric has become increasingly hostile, increasingly polarizing, and dehumanizing. Extremist ideologies are becoming louder, more visible, and more normalized in everyday discourse. And let's take that one step further. This is not random. Outrage is profitable. Division is strategic. And emotional activation keeps people hooked. Now, here's a key psychological truth. Humans are wired with a negativity bias. That means that your brain is biologically designed to prioritize threats over neutral or positive information. Why? Because thousands of years ago, noticing danger quickly kept you alive. But now, that same wiring is being hijacked. So when you combine algorithms pushing outrage, politicians using fear-based messaging, and extremist content designed to provoke emotional reactions, your brain goes into overdrive. This is not you being too sensitive. This is your nervous system doing exactly what it was designed to do. But here's the problem. When you are constantly exposed to hate, your body doesn't know the difference between a real immediate threat and something you're reading on your phone at 10:30 at night while you're in your pajamas. So your system stays activated. You don't come down from that stress response. And over time, that chronic activation can lead to anxiety, emotional exhaustion, hypervigilance, cynicism, compassion fatigue, and burnout from simply existing in the world. I am feeling this so hard right now myself. And worst of all, you start to lose yourself. So let's talk about what happens when you don't protect yourself from this environment. Let's talk about the hidden cost of internalizing hate. Because the danger isn't just exposure to hate, it's absorption of it. And this is where it gets subtle and dangerous. When hate is constant, you might start to become hyper-reactive or constantly on edge, You might feel hopeless about humanity or the future. Yep, feeling that one too. You might withdraw from conversations that actually matter. You might even question your own voice, your own power, or your impact. Again, I'm dealing with this right now myself. For those who listened to or watched last week's episode, you heard me admit that I was again questioning whether to continue with this podcast or not. I get a lot of hate for what I say, and it's exhausting and makes me question if I'm even making a difference. And also, on top of the personal chaos that I'm dealing with, not a good combination. Another thing is that you might feel emotionally numb or disconnected. Again, I've popped in and out of that myself a few times. And you may even start mirroring the same harshness, sarcasm, or cruelty that you're seeing. I'm telling you, I have had to rein myself in tightly because when I see all of the hatred in the comment sections online, I just want to unload. But I don't. I'm trying to be the change and all. And it's not easy, let me tell you. And here's the truth that most people do not want to say out loud. Prolonged exposure to hostility can reshape your emotional baseline, meaning that what once felt extreme starts to feel normal. That is how environments change people. So I'm going to lovingly call something out right here. If you are not intentional, the very systems that you are trying to resist can start shaping how you think, how you speak, and how you show up. That's how powerful this environment is. And as women, especially women committed to growth, justice, and empowerment, we cannot afford to lose our clarity, our compassion, or our voice. Because once you lose those things, that's when the hate actually wins. So let's get into it. How do you stay informed, aware, and engaged without becoming consumed, overwhelmed, or emotionally hijacked? Start with curating your digital environment like your sanity depends on it, because it does. You are not obligated to consume everything. Let me repeat that louder for the people in the back. You are not obligated to expose yourself to constant harm in the name of being informed. Being informed does not require being emotionally flooded 24/7. You can unfollow or mute accounts that constantly trigger rage, fear, or anxiety without adding meaningful value. I have begun to do this, and let me tell you, it really does make a difference. You can limit your time on platforms that are designed to keep you dysregulated. Again, this is why my social media engagement is not what it used to be. I have been very awful as far as keeping up with Facebook and Instagram because the hatred it drags me down, and I don't want to do that anymore. I have enough going on without adding to that stress. Another thing you can do, replace doom scrolling with intentional consumption. Choose when, where, and how you engage. For me, I intentionally choose to post my episodes each week in my Facebook group that I opened up, the Hint Hive podcast Facebook group. I don't do a whole lot more online, to be very honest. Another thing that is really important, you can create no scroll zones in your day, like mornings or before bed. This is not avoidance. All of this is psychological self-respect. Next, regulate your nervous system daily, not just when you're overwhelmed. Too often we wait until it's too late. If your nervous system is constantly activated, your perspective will be distorted. You will see more danger than there actually is. You will feel more overwhelmed than you actually are. And you will react instead of respond. Some great techniques include deep breathing, because slow inhales and longer exhales actually calms your nervous system. Grounding exercises, one of my favorites. Name 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, and if you want to take it a little further, 2 things you can smell and 1 thing you can taste. That's called the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 grounding exercise. And I do this frequently for people, for example, if they're having panic attacks in my office. But it's not just for panic attacks. It is a great grounding technique to refocus you. Another thing you can do, movement, like walking, stretching, shaking out tension, dancing like nobody's watching. That can shift the physiology in your body, kind of like a fake it till you make it. And limiting stimulants like constant news intake when you're already overwhelmed can be really, really important. This isn't fluff. This is biology, because regulation is power. Next, stay rooted in your values, not your triggers. Hate wants a reaction. Power comes from intention. When you are triggered, your brain is not operating from your highest, most aligned self. So pause and ask, who do I want to be in this moment? What do I actually stand for? Is this response aligned with my values or just my emotions? Ladies, you can be fierce and grounded. You can be outspoken and regulated. You can challenge systems without becoming consumed by them. That is emotional intelligence. Next, protect your energy without silencing yourself. This one is big, especially for women who have been socialized to over-explain, over-prove, and over-engage. You do not have to engage in every argument to prove your worth, your intelligence, or your legitimacy. Not every conversation deserves access to you. That concept was slapped in my face when I tried to be helpful online and was immediately attacked and told that people in my profession only care about money and power. Ha! What money and what power is that you speak of? And how can I find it? Please, lead me there. So, some good ways to protect your energy include choosing your battles based on impact, not impulse. Disengaging from bad faith conversations or people committed to misunderstanding you. Setting time limits on how long you engage in heavy topics. And giving yourself permission to walk away without guilt. These are healthy boundaries. Boundaries are not weakness. They are strategy. And honestly, they are survival. Next, stay connected to real people and real joy. The internet is not reality. I'll say it again for those who need to hear it, because apparently there is an internet filled with people who don't get this. The internet is not reality. What you see online is often the most extreme, amplified, and emotionally charged version of humanity. But that is not the whole picture. So instead of trying to find connections solely online, Spend time with people who remind you of your humanity. Engage in hobbies, creativity, or rest that reconnect you to yourself. Get outside, touch grass, breathe real air. Yes, I said it. Get some fresh freaking air, people. Create moments that remind you why life is worth protecting. Joy is not a distraction from the fight. It is fuel for it. Because let me tell you, when I spend time cultivating joy in my life, I feel even more powerful than what I already know that I am. And finally, build emotional boundaries, not just external ones. Here's a deeper layer that most people miss. It's not just about what you expose yourself to. It's about what you internalize. You can see something hateful and not take it in as truth. So when you see the hate, whether directed at you or not, remind yourself, this is a reflection of them, not me. Challenge internalized negativity before it takes root. Separate your identity from other people's projections. Not everything deserves space in your mind. Ladies, we need to work on reclaiming our power in a hostile world. Here's the truth that doesn't get talked about enough. The goal of widespread hate, whether it's political, social, or ideological, is often to exhaust you. Because exhausted people are easier to silence, easier to control, easier to disengage. So choosing to stay grounded, intentional, and connected to yourself, that is an act of resistance. Choosing not to become bitter, that is power. Choosing to stay compassionate without being naive, that is strength. Choosing to keep showing up as yourself, that is how you refuse to be reshaped by the very thing you're fighting against. All right, time for our affirmation of the week. Take a breath with me. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Feel your feet on the ground. Drop your shoulders. And say this out loud if you can. I refuse to let hatred reshape who I am. I protect my peace. I honor my values. And I choose to respond with power, not reaction. Again, I refuse to let hatred reshape who I am. Let it sink in. Because this affirmation is not about ignoring reality. It's about choosing how you exist within it. Hatred wants to pull you out of yourself. It wants you reactive, drained, and disconnected. This affirmation pulls you back in. It reminds you that your identity is yours, not something the world gets to distort, define, or manipulate. And every time you choose alignment over reaction, you reclaim your power. Hive, you are allowed to care deeply about what's happening in the world without destroying yourself in the process. You are allowed to stay informed without being consumed. You are allowed to be powerful without becoming hardened. You are allowed to feel without losing yourself. The goal is not to become unaffected. The goal is to stay rooted. Grounded women are powerful women, and the world does not benefit from you being burnt out, shut down, or silenced. It benefits from you being clear, intentional, and unapologetically yourself. Because the world does not need more reactive voices. It needs grounded, self-aware, emotionally intelligent women who know exactly who the hell they are and refuse to be shaken out of it. And that includes every single one of you. Okay, my friends, if this episode hit you in the feels, I want you to do 3 things this week. Share this episode with a woman in your life who might be feeling overwhelmed by the world right now. Take 1 boundary action today. Unfollow, log off, speak up, or step back, whatever protects your peace. And then send me a message or post in the Hive community on Facebook. What is 1 way that you are choosing yourself this week? Because small, intentional actions, they add up to powerful change. And if you're not already part of our Hive community, come join us. We are building a space where women can process, grow, and support each other without the noise. Because you don't have to navigate this world alone. And if you need help with that, let's do some work together to bring out that confident, badass queen that I know that you are. All right, ladies, stay powerful, stay grounded, and as always, keep buzzing. This podcast is powered by Kelly Hint Empowerment Coaching, as well as Kelly M. Hint LMHC and The Cranky Counselor. To find out more about coaching services, head over to CoachKellyHint.com. If you'd like to know more about the psychotherapy services I offer to individuals within the state of New York, you can check out KellyMHint.com. And if you'd like to learn more about aromatherapy, you can check out TheCrankyCounselor.com.